It's been a crazy couple weeks in the NFL, but heading into the all-important week 3, this is where you really start to see where your team falls. So we got all of our rankings. Before we get into it though, Mr. Nameco.
All right, a lot of injuries. If you've been getting hurt by these injuries and you're like, man, I wish I didn't take Peterson, I wish I didn't do this, I wish I had a different team. You know what you do? You sign up for DraftKings. Follow the card or the link in the description. Sign up for DraftKings. Deposit some money in there. And then I'm going to be doing a video, help you out with the picks. Week 1, we did amazing. Week 2, we hit just a little bit. I'm feeling like week 3, we're going to get some winners again.
If you follow the instructions on that link, it helps us out too.
Yeah, help us out.
I know you want to help us out. Let's start at quarterbacks. I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. There's been some reports going around. One of my buddies, I'm playing him this week, he sent me this link talking about how Aaron Rodgers is washed up and he's not the same anymore and blah, blah, blah. He's playing Detroit this week. You're excited about it. He's going to have a good game. In the famous words of Aaron Rodgers, relax, he'll be fine.
All right, the guy I'm going to highlight that we're getting a ton of questions about is Russell Wilson. And I understand why, right? You drafted him probably kind of early. You're disappointed in the start. You know, he didn't look good against the Rams, but the Rams always play Seattle tough. And he didn't really move if you watch that game. He didn't move too much in the pocket. He's saying the ankle's feeling much better. They're playing the Niners. I just think it's a much better chance, and they're at home. That's certainly going to help him. So Wilson, don't do anything crazy. We're seeing some crazy stuff, like a Dak Prescott type crazy. That's crazy. Don't do that.
He'll be fine too. Let's take a look at running backs. There's the running backs. It's been a mess. It's a lot like last year in terms of just all the disappointments. But you look at our top 5 and you see a name that I don't think many people would have thought would be there this time of year, but that's Mr. Melvin Gordon. But he's been good, and they're still gonna move some guys in there. He might not necessarily play a ton on passing downs, but he's got a great situation with a good matchup against Indy. He's been falling in the end zone a ton. You got to think in a high-scoring game, over-unders 50 in that game, there's a very good chance Melvin Gordon gets in the end zone again this week.
All right, I'm going to highlight Mark Ingram. And I know he hasn't been stellar. He's been okay, not great. But there's a really interesting stat line on Mark Ingram is that the Saints haven't had too many opportunities inside the 10 for their scoring drives. They're either scoring on the long plays, Drew Brees throwing a bomb. So due to the fact he hasn't gotten the ball that much close to the goal line, and he got it a ton last year when they were inside. So this over-under is 53.5. I think they're going to have opportunities on Monday night. I think Ingram finally falls into the end zone.
Let's take a look at our next 20 running backs here. At number 30, Jerick McKinnon. I mean, this is obviously one of the biggest pickups this week. Everyone's excited about him. Oh, Adrian Peterson's washed up anyway. Now McKinnon's gonna come in and do amazing. I'm not so sure about that. He's only had 3 touchdowns in his career. He's, Asiata's gonna take goal lines and a lot of the passing downs. McKinnon is a borderline flex play in our opinion. I mean, he could have a big run, but when you look at what he's done in the past, he's normally around 15 touches, 70 yards, and no touchdowns. So he's still serviceable, but just don't get overly excited.
And number 36, the Boston CEO made me talk about this guy because this is his new favorite man crush in the world. I was getting texts early in the morning about how awesome he's going to be.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Dwayne Washington for the Detroit Lions. Actually, I'm kind of buying into the hype that Dustin's putting on him. And it's really like this, right? Theo Riddick, I don't know if we're necessarily buying he's going to get all of the snaps. He's always been a third down back. That's the best role for him, and he still gets on the field a ton when he's doing that. And Dwayne Washington, it's not like Abdullah was setting the world on fire, so Washington can certainly step in, have a role there. I think he's an interesting play season long. We would probably rank him a little bit higher, but there's a little bit of uncertainty, and they're playing that tough rushing D of the Green Bay Packers. But certainly a guy to note, and if you have an extra roster spot and he's available,
please pick him up.
Go ahead, pick him up.
And he was already getting the goal lines when Abdullah was healthy. So he will be getting the goal lines 100%.
Dustin loves this guy.
Oh, I love him. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Let's move over to receivers. One of the surprises this year, Willie Snead. He's a top 5 receiver in most formats. And with a matchup against Atlanta this week, I mean, you got to think he's going to be right up there again this week. I mean, he's getting very disrespected. Just in terms of so many questions about whether you should be starting him. Yes, if you have Willie Snead, you are starting him, and you are happy that you are.
All right, next receiver I'm talking about is Jarvis Landry. And again, these rankings are standard, so keep that in mind. So that's a reason why Landry's a little bit lower for us. We do like him a lot more in PPR leagues. But in a standard, how much are you going to get out of him, right? First half, they're going to target him, they're going to use him, they're going to move the ball. But I think Miami might get up pretty big, and I'm worried about his usage in the second half. They might be running the ball a lot more. So based on that, I don't necessarily see him getting into the end zone, so he's just a little bit lower. He's still like a wide receiver 2 based on our ranking, so you're probably starting him. Just don't expect a monster game because they're playing the Browns. It might actually hurt him because he ain't going to see as many targets.
And number 29, very interesting player this week, Julian Edelman. The reason he's interesting, I mean, obviously we know he's going to get a decent amount of targets, he's going to catch some balls. But if he's going to be the backup quarterback. If he gets a chance to play quarterback, I mean, how fun is that going to be if you have a receiver out there that gets thrown into the quarterback spot? I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens if it does happen. But that's just that little percentage chance of that happening might be a tiebreaker for me if I'm between him and another player.
Oh, I got him in our 2-quarterback league. I'm just hoping that I kind of have 3 quarterbacks going this week. It'd just be fun.
It would be fun.
All right, I'm going to talk about Philip Dorsett. And here's the thing. Moncrief is hurt. So this guy got so much hype in the preseason. And with Moncrief hurt, everyone's like, oh, he's going to blow up. He's going to have an amazing game. He's going to have an amazing couple weeks. And I think he could be solid, but this might be his best week of the bunch going forward. I mean, right now, the over-under in the game is 51.5. It's the second highest over-under of the week. You know, they're playing San Diego, that's been giving up a ton of points. So I think he's a very intriguing play. And again, this is a guy that might be on your wire that could easily be picked up and moved into a flex play.
All right, let's move over to those tight ends. And I'm going to talk about my man crush at the tight end position, Mr.
You do have a few big man crushes this year.
Mr. Jesse James.
It's been a big man crush year for you.
Yeah, it's they make it easy sometimes. Jesse James, I love this guy. Just go back and watch the highlight of him catching that touchdown week 2. I mean, how could they not just do that every time? No one can defend that. Just throw it up to where it's about 10 feet high in the air, and Jesse James will just jump up and catch it. I mean, you can't guard that in the red zone, and that's why I like him. And again, these are standard rankings. When you look at these tight ends and you look who's below them, a lot of kind of more PPR type guys. But his touchdown potential is going to be huge every week. That's why we got him in the top 10.
All right, the guy I'm going to highlight is Jimmy Graham, former man crush, former beast that hasn't been performing. Obviously, he's coming off that devastating injury. Week 1, he didn't play in that many snaps, so he wasn't on the field, so it was a little bit scary. Week 2, however, he played on 82% of the snaps, which you gotta like. Seattle needs to do something with that offense. They're playing San Francisco. We have Jimmy ranked over guys like Barnage just because of the situation he's in. There's upside here, and he's available also. I'm getting a lot of guys that are available on the wire. He's available in a decent amount of leagues. He could definitely be a pickup and play for you.
Talk about a pickup and play. Let's go to the defenses. And our number 2 defense, the Miami Dolphins.
Woo, number 2.
I mean, here's a couple of things I want you to think about, or at least just one thing. When was the last time you saw the Dolphins favored to win by 10 points? I mean, it's been a very long time, maybe the Dan Marino era. This is interesting. I mean, Cleveland is just decimated with injuries, and they just lost Corey Coleman too, just on top of all of that. The over-under is 42, 10-point spread. They're projecting a 26-16 win for Miami. It could even be worse than that, who knows. But Miami, pick up and play, streaming defense, if they're still available, take a hard look at your defense. Because you should probably be starting Miami.
I tried to get him in every league. I lost to him in a few bidding kind of places because Dustin, he bought up for him, not gonna lie.
I did.
It's got some faith. All right, the defense I'm gonna highlight that I ended up having to get in a bunch of leagues because Dustin bid an insane amount on the Miami Dolphins was I went with the New York Giants, and I don't understand why not a lot of people are giving them more credit, right? They made a lot of defensive moves in the offseason. They've looked well the last 2 weeks. They looked great against the Saints. I mean, they were holding that offense. It was bend, don't break, but they were doing very well. Sure, they don't get a ton of sacks, but it's a solid defense. And they're playing the Washington Redskins that have not come off to a good start whatsoever. And the Giants are at home, so I really like that as an added little boost for them. We have them ranked currently at number 9, and that's a little bit higher than a lot of the other, quote-unquote experts out there. So I just think it's a good situation for them this week.
Cousins is always good for one mistake these days.
Yeah.
So that's our rankings. Go ahead and check them out. Brent will be updating them throughout the week all the way up until Sunday. So you can click on the link in the description to get to the most updated rankings. Making an airplane there?
Yeah, do a pen flip or something. I need some time.
I need some time. Always waiting on Brent.
Not true. This is such a bad airplane because I rushed it. Oh my God.
Good luck this week. Oh, that was terrible.